Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely pumped you're here today because we're diving into something really cool, mastering flow. Now, whether we're talking about human biology and the actual blood rushing through our veins, or digital media and a viewer moving seamlessly through a story, the core mechanism is exactly the same. You need specific catalysts to trigger massive results. So today, we're going to explore how applying the right catalyst at the right time can optimize both your physical health and your digital content.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the formula for flow, boosting biological circulation, the 60-second video script, crafting the perfect cliffhanger, CTAs that inspire action, and finally, catalysts for ultimate success. I know it might sound a little crazy to mix leg circulation and video marketing, but trust me, it's going to make perfect sense.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the formula for flow, and how we triggered the desired response.
Stagnation is literally the ultimate enemy. Think about it. Inside our bodies, if we don't have the right internal triggers, our blood vessels actually shrink down, they stiffen, and they get super rigid. And out there in the digital world, it's the exact same story. Without the right narrative triggers, your audience gets bored, they disengage, and boom, they've scrolled away. But there's a silver lining here. Stagnation is entirely reversible. By introducing very specific catalysts, we can flip the script instantly and get everything flowing freely again. Which brings us to section 2, boosting biological circulation, specifically looking at the nitric oxide catalyst. Let's look at this number right here, 70%. That is a massive drop. And unfortunately, that is exactly how much your body's natural production of nitric oxide plummets after you hit age 60. Now, nitric oxide, it's basically the master molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and open wide. So when that production drops by 70%, your vessels get narrow and stiff. Blood has a really hard time reaching your feet, and that's exactly what leads to issues like numbness, cold legs, and those awful cramps.
So how do we fix this? Well, we've got to look at what you're putting into the tank. We're essentially dealing with two camps, circulation saboteurs and circulation superchargers. The saboteurs, we're talking sugary drinks, standard fruit juices, even diet sodas. They spike your blood sugar like crazy and actually alter the good bacteria in your gut, which damages the inner lining of your blood vessels. Not good. But on the flip side, we've got the superchargers. Foods like watermelon, arugula, and beetroot juice. These are just packed with natural compounds that literally widen your arteries.
Here's how this whole biological chain reaction works. When you drink something like beetroot juice, you're taking in dietary nitrates. Then, your body actually uses the bacteria in your mouth to convert those nitrates into this intermediate stuff called nitrates. Finally, those nitrites travel down into your stomach and your bloodstream, where a specific enzyme converts them into nitric oxide. And boom, that is the ultimate signal that throws your blood vessels wide open and gets that blood flowing.
But hold on, because there's a hidden roadblock here that really plagues older adults. After 65, that internal conversion factory I just mentioned, it starts breaking down. Two major things happen. First, a ton of those precious nitrites end up getting destroyed by stomach acid way before they can even convert. And second, the actual enzyme that makes that final conversion, it's called nitric oxide synthase, well, it slows way, way down. So just chugging plain beet juice usually isn't enough for seniors because you're actively losing the raw materials right there in your stomach.
So here is the ultimate biochemical catalyst, vitamin C. More specifically, taking the juice of half a fresh lemon and squeezing it right into your daily glass of pure beetroot juice. It's like a magic trick. The vitamin C acts as a protective shield for the nitrite against your stomach acid, and at the exact same time, it kickstarts that sluggish conversion enzyme. By combining these two, you force the whole factory back to peak efficiency, which can actually increase blood flow to your legs by 30 to 50% in just a matter of hours. How wild is that?
All right, let's pivot a bit. Welcome to section 3, the 60-second video script and the narrative flow.
3 seconds. That's all you get. A joint survey by Facebook and Nielsen found that up to 47% of a video campaign's total value is delivered in just those critical opening 3 seconds. Let that sink in. If you don't trigger your viewers' attention right then and there, they hit digital stagnation, and they are scrolling right past you. Now, mirroring the biological steps we just mapped out, creating narrative flow is incredibly structured. Whether you're putting together a healthcare explainer or a quick product demo, the formula is identical. It's a 3-parter. You start with a hook, you move into the main content, and you close it all out with a big finish.
Let's break down the exact pacing of a perfect 60-second script because it requires serious precision. Since we're only talking about maybe 120 to 150 words total, every single second has to count. You spend the first 4 to 5 seconds on a hook, say asking a really bold question while showing an up-close shot. From there, you spend about 20 seconds detailing the core solution, maybe throwing in some sleek on-screen graphics. And then you bring it home with a 4 to 5 second big finish featuring a crystal clear call to action. It creates this momentum that effortlessly pulls the audience right to the end. And when you really nail this short-form script, you unlock what's called the dip-in, dip-out method. Basically, this framework chunks your videos into ultra-concise, bite-sized clips. It cuts out all the fluff, it gives your viewers total freedom to extract exactly the knowledge they need rapidly and efficiently.
Moving right along to Section 4, Crafting the Perfect Cliffhanger, Psychological Flow.
Who shot J.R. Ewing? Now, if you remember the classic TV show Dallas, you already know this legendary cliffhanger. A cliffhanger is essentially a perfectly crafted ending that leaves the audience with way more questions than answers. It builds up this irresistible sense of suspense and, honestly, a little anxiety that completely destroys any chance of stagnation. The viewer simply has to come back to find out what happens next. And there are some absolutely incredible storytelling techniques to trigger that kind of viewer loyalty. You could let a clock count down to create a race against time. Think of the TV series 24. You could totally defy reality and play mind tricks, leaving everyone guessing what was real, like that spinning top at the end of Inception. You could unexpectedly kill off a main character, Game of Thrones style, or, just take a page right out of Lord of the Rings and dangle a character like Gandalf from a literal actual cliff. These psychological catalysts just trigger massive, undeniable curiosity.
Which leads us to the final piece of the puzzle, Section 5, CTAs that inspire action, triggering the final action.
Sometimes brilliant simplicity is the most effective tool you have. Take Dollar Shave Club. Their CTA was just shave time, shave money. It is so witty, but it's also a crystal clear value proposition. It tells the viewer exactly what they stand to gain, and it triggers immediate conversions. So smart.
Or let's look at arguably the most iconic CTA ever, Nike's Just Do It. This simple, action-oriented phrase was so insanely powerful that it actually shifted Nike's North American domestic sports shoe market share from 18% all the way up to 43%. They weren't just selling shoes, they were inspiring real action through pure emotional storytelling.
So what are the actual rules for crafting the perfect CTA? Well, make it direct and clear, like Slack saying, try Slack for free. Keep it personal and relevant to your audience, like Airbnb does. Make absolutely sure it aligns completely with your brand's overall vibe, just like Headspace is soothing. Get to know your mind. And always, always target your specific demographic, like Mobile Mustard did when they zeroed in on 16 to 24-year-olds. A perfectly placed call to action opens an audience's mind to a new product just as effectively as nitric oxide opens up a blood vessel.
All right, let's bring it all together in Section 6, Catalyst for Ultimate Success, Turning Momentum into Results. The parallels we've looked at today are just undeniable. In biological mastery, we stop guessing and we apply the proven formula. Beetroot plus the vitamin C of a lemon triggers a massive 30 to 50% increase in blood flow, period. And in digital mastery, we apply the narrative formula. A 3-second hook plus a psychological cliffhanger plus an inspiring CTA triggers massive viewer retention and conversion. You literally reverse stagnation the very second you introduce the right trigger.
So, I want to leave you with one final question. You now hold the scientifically proven blueprints. You know the exact catalyst required for both biological flow and digital flow. The structures are right there, just waiting to be utilized. So what ultimate action are you going to trigger today? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I seriously can't wait to see what you optimize next.